screwdriver on my laptop every day now.
What's a Birmingham screwdriver?
A hammer.
I did not know that is what that was called.
No, it's just like taking the piss out of Birmingham people, basically.
Is that a thing, or have you made that up?
No, it's a real thing. It's basically a derogatory. Well, I say derogatory. It's like a bit of banter towards people from Birmingham, and that the fact they use hammers to fix everything. They don't use screwdrivers. They just whack it with a hammer and hope it works.
I'm not a huge fan of tradesmen, period, but tradesmen in Birmingham even more so.
That's probably where it come from. I heard it from someone at work. So.
No doubt. Hey, man.
Look, I've done my hair today.
Hey.
I had to dry it because my room's so cold that if I had my hair wet, then it would just bloody give me a cold, more than likely. So, don't really want that to be happening. Not right now.
Listen, mate. You not excited about your new Xbox tomorrow?
I am. I'm trying to keep myself mellow about it.
Okay.
I can't let it go to my head right now. Because two reasons. One, it's Friday the 13th tomorrow, so anything could happen. And two, I feel like if I get too excited about it now, it's just going to make everything feel like lesser than once it starts to like get rolling, if that makes sense. Like it's like the usual thing about getting too hyped for a film before it starts. Like you need to go into it and lower your expectations going in so that everything is nice when you actually do finally get there. That's my plan. I've also got to make sure I set up my Xbox as my home Xbox, in quotes.
Yeah, what's this about, mate? I've been seeing this stuff.
Yeah, so basically you can switch your Xbox to a home Xbox 5 times a year, which basically means if you want to like switch your account back and forth between Xbox systems, you can, but you can't do it that often. But it's basically so you can like share games essentially. Because obviously, if you do that with someone, you're basically giving someone all the games you've bought.
Which
so
people do.
They want to basically limit that to 5 times a year. So if you've done that more than 5 times, you've then lost all your games at that point, unless you've already put it back on your own console. So I'm not sure of the massive importance of it, but I think it's just to help the Xbox like understand stuff. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
That's like one of my first things. There's a bunch of like settings that IGN have come up with videos basically saying like make sure you do all these settings before you do anything, because if not, you're going to find it hard later in the future to do certain things. So, which I'm glad about, because if I'd missed those videos, I probably would have had a rough time. So,
is there anything of importance that you wouldn't think about when you first?
Yeah, there's like the home, making your Xbox a home console thing. I think there was something about like having the Xbox come on instantly. There's basically like a setting where you can have it where it loads up everything slowly or fast.
Energy saver, right?
It's default on slow, which basically means that like if let's say you like left your Xbox off, or you left the game on and you turn your Xbox off, you can obviously have the setting where you turn it back on and it like instantly goes back onto that game kind of thing, rather than having to load everything back up, which is quite nice. I mean, you kind of have that with one, but I think it's supposed to be even better on the X. So something like that, anyway. Yeah, I think there's probably a few other things, but
Jay, I've realised what I did wrong.
Okay, what did you do
in the process? So, for everyone who we haven't addressed,
bit of deja vu, innit, with your bloody Bluetooth keyboard.
We haven't addressed the people in what feels like forever, Jay. So we should let them all know that I haven't got an order. I haven't got a pre-order an order. I haven't got one coming. An Xbox. I haven't got a PS5 coming. You've got one coming tomorrow. I've realised what I did wrong. I have underestimated both the gaming industry's power and influence and people's desperation for these consoles. And I will use the word desperate, because I said to India many times, Xbox One did not sell that well. And we have been waiting for a next gen for a long time. There are supply chain issues, clearly, from COVID. However, I think it is embarrassing that we as a people do not speak about gaming, and yet we'll all stay up till 8 a.m, 12 p.m, 12 a.m, ordering these things online.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Jay's trying to distract me with his
No,
eyebrows.
no, I'm just okay. I was actually going to say something about the Xbox. So the Xbox One is notorious for not selling very well.
Yeah.
But is it Phil Spencer? He put out a tweet a couple hours ago, basically saying in the first 24 hours of the release of the Xbox that they sold more globally than they had done on the previous one's initial 24 hours. So like they sold more for this console in the first 24 hours than the Xbox One did in its first 24 hours.
That is, I mean, that's
Like
no
a hell of a lot,
surprise.
like a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, I would expect that. I would expect that.
Like a lot. Like he's like kind of stunned by how much people have wanted to buy these things, which I think is why there's actually like quite a lot of people not able to get them is because more people than ever have bought it in the first 24 hours. Or like I think he includes pre-orders too.
Sure.
So yeah, it's basically I think
Well,
it's because there's people who probably were younger 7 years ago who obviously their parents or themselves couldn't afford a console who have now grown up and are now able to do so. So there's like an extra couple million people, kids, who are now able to get these things, which is why it's unable for people like you, I guess.
well, moreover, the
Blame
gaming
the
industry
kids.
gets bigger every year.
Oh
It
yeah,
gets
it's I mean
more
it's a
gamers all the
multi-billion-dollar
time.
industry, like it's so big.
I'm just Jay. I am just sick of people not admitting this. That nobody's going to tell you.
I
Right.
can
So
tell you
I go
why.
I go to someone's house, right, and they're you've got a Series X. It came out like 3 days ago. Yeah, just managed to get a pre-order. No, you didn't manage to get a pre-order. You got one at 9 a.m. when they went live. Like you
Well,
queuing up with
we're
like everyone else.
unless
So don't
unless you
let's
were
not
someone
let's
like
not
me,
put a ribbon around it and like or your circumstance
yeah, it's slightly
refreshing.
different. Yeah.
But like I'm not trying to shame anyone. I'm
No.
just saying stop being ashamed because
Oh, I
clearly
see.
people are.
Well, I think
Clearly,
part of that is because I guess it comes back to the media or like just society in general. But people like me and you had a conversation about this. You felt bad about gaming so much to an extent, right? You felt like you could be doing more with your life, in quotes, and that you probably should have put your time, more focus on something that would probably, help you in some other area of your life. And I think that's part of it. I think there's like a stigma against people who are seen as gamers are also lazy, that tend not to have a job, tend to like still live at home, like all these different things, which are like obviously not are like looked down upon in our society. And they're primarily men too, and obviously men are supposed to be the ones who are supposed to provide for their families, which just makes it even worse. It's like, oh, there's all these useless men sitting at home on their consoles. That's kind of what like the majority of people I think, in quotes. But I don't know. I think that's why they're ashamed. It's because they're being shamed by other people to feel that way.
but it's ironic because
I'm not shameful
who
of it at all.
I know that
I
people
mean, to
are
like
out
a
there.
tiny amount, like 1%.
Yeah, like I know people are out there who don't game, but who are they, Jay? Because they ain't in the UK. You
Yeah,
know
what
what
do
I'm
they do
saying?
at night? Do they just drink a bottle of wine and go to bed? Like
Yeah, or
weirdos?
YouTube or football. Like, but I'm sorry, but if you're a male, or some females in the UK,
Yeah, it's definitely a
you
lot
have
bigger.
very likely got a games console in your house. Period.
I mean, yeah, yeah,
So
more
let's
than
just
likely.
stop. Let's just stop pretending that no one's gonna queue up for these things. Like clearly these things are in high demand. Stop being ashamed. We all do it. We've all done it. I failed at it clearly. Um,
I think you could have tried
so
harder.
yeah, my brother keeps telling me that.
Yeah, even I'll
Yeah,
tell you what my mum's been talking about too.
about me.
Yeah, I said to her, look, if Nick had just stayed on like I did and refreshed us for as long as I did, probably would have got one. But I
Mm.
mean, you're busy, so it's obviously I can't force you to do
Well,
anything.
it's more about the principle of I genuinely lose patience doing that after 10
Yeah, no, I
minutes.
get you. I understand.
And also, I shouldn't need to do that.
You shouldn't. No, that's what I think. That's what does bug me about it. Actually, is when I was doing it, I was thinking to myself like, I shouldn't be doing this right now. Like, I should have just been able to click it once and been guaranteed one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. It's yeah, it's more about like a principle than anything else. I understand that. Totally
Yeah.
understand that.
But look, man, look, it's done. It is what it is. And
Didn't they delay the PS5 release as well? It was supposed to
I
be today, but it's actually tomorrow now.
in the US.
I don't know where. Yeah, I think it's the US. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
because
few
it's
people
on
that
the
already have
19th in the
theirs.
UK.
Yeah, there's a few people who already have theirs, but I think some people have been delayed until the next day or something. Like I think if you got a pre-order, it was today, but if you didn't get a pre-order, the release window's now moved a day forward. I don't know. I'm
Wow.
hearing different things, but I think that's because to sort of help the people who want to get one release day have a bit more of a chance, maybe. I don't know.
I don't
Hard to
know.
say. Hard to
I
say.
don't know. But the biggest depression element for me, Jay, is just that I probably won't get one till next year now, which is just a bit sad,
I
really.
mean, yeah, I'm seeing all these things of like, well, I think, I mean, technically the next release date on the game is the 18th of December,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then on Amazon it's not until the 31st of December, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's looking like you might even miss the cyberpunk window, which is annoying more than anything else. But I mean, I don't know if they're still doing the same tactic as what happened to me, which is just refreshing the page and hope for the best. Um, there's been a few articles of people saying who bought one and they're already trying to scalp them, like $1,000, $2,000 for a new console. It's like Jesus Christ, like these people are so like oh man, obviously you can't. There's no deterrent really, is there? There's no way of knowing who these people are. Like if you're the kind of person who pre-ordered a console and just wants to sell it for like 4 times its price, there's no way of knowing that's who you are. I think that's annoyed me more than anything else because it's obviously made that one person or that times 1,000 whoever people are they're scalping all these consoles has basically made it harder for you to get one. Someone
Correct.
who's actually going to bloody use it for the next decade, more than
Correct.
likely.
Someone
It's not
who,
fair.
let's be frank about it, was dying to get one, or at least I really wanted one. I'll just
Yeah,
say that.
yeah.
But alas, you're
The world
getting
we
one,
live
so that's
in. Yeah.
exciting. And I'm going to use this opportunity to do some other things which I've been putting off. So we're all good. But I'm glad you're getting one. I really am. I
I
guess
feel
the big
lucky, honestly. I'm kind of like scared at how lucky I've been at this point.
well, the biggest issue for us as a show, Jay, or a
Yeah, I'm not
podcast,
going to be able to talk about AC Valhalla or Cyberpunk until well into next year.
correct,
And I'm probably going to have forgotten most of what I remembered by playing it at that point, which doesn't matter too
correct.
much. I really don't care. I'm hoping by the time you get AC Valhalla, I'll have already started the next DLC for it. Because they've actually got
Oh
a plan for the
yeah.
start of spring, haven't they, for all the DLC plans for AC?
So you're not. Yeah, so you're definitely playing Valhalla until Cyberpunk then.
Yeah, so well, hopefully Valhalla until pretty much up to Cyberpunk, and then the DLC after Cyberpunk for Valhalla, and then once the Valhalla DLC is over, hopefully the Cyberpunk DLC will start to roll around at that point, and hopefully Godfall as well, which we'll come on to in a little while.
And Cyberpunk has been reaffirmed, or they've tried to reconfirm the new release date from a response to IGN asking for comments, saying that they don't comment on rumors or speculation, but I quote, even though we don't usually do this, but I will confirm we were just taking time to update all of our assets to reflect the new launch date of December 10th, and that was a representative from CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, I
So it
actually
looked
like
like
dove a little bit further into this.
okay.
I don't have a source necessarily. I watched it. There's a guy on YouTube who gets his sources from all over the place. I'm not sure how
Mm,
secure this is, but it was basically people high up in CD, or at least or someone on the team, were basically saying that they care very much so about their score, their like review scores and their meta scores when a game comes out. Basically, their goal is to get at least 90 on a meta score when it comes out, and they thought that if they released it early without all this polish, they were going to get less than that, so they needed to make it up to a
wow.
90. That was like part of their reasoning, at least a small part of their reasoning as to why it was being delayed. Because again, they've only got one shot at making it like a first impression. Like people tend not to come back and update reviews. I think IGN are probably one of the only people I've seen update a review. And that's only usually because there's like a new edition most of the time. It's not always because the game has improved necessarily.
Yeah, it was being updated a lot.
I think the only thing
Um,
they've also done with that was the Switch. I remember the Switch review. I think they got like a 6 when it first came out, and I think it's now like a 9 or a 10, just because it's in like the number of games that are on it are so much wider of like value and prestige, I guess. So yeah,
oh right.
I'm hoping they'll do that with some other things potentially, but it seems
We
unlikely.
we've definitely seen a lot of studios getting bonuses for certain critic and Metacritic scores as well, so that could be to do with it as well.
Mhm. Mhm. I
What do
say,
you think?
yeah, go on.
Do you think it's definitely coming December 10th, Jay?
Yeah, I think at this point, like I'm finding it very hard to think as to why they want to push it anymore, other than that they've just not had enough time. I mean, that 21 days number must have like really been thought about. They must have thought, right, we have a schedule, and if we can't stick to it, we're done. Basically, like there's no coming back from this. So we either say 21 days and be sure, or say more than that and have a massive backlash from it essentially. And people say that bad press is still good press, but in this instance, it's not. It's probably for games. I'd say bad press is usually a really bad sign more than anything else. It can sway a game's selling capabilities and just brand awareness and stuff massively. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that they're sticking to this as much as they can at this point. They've actually gone dark on their social medias, haven't they? The entirety of the marketing is just completely shut off since whenever they announced the delay.
Release
So
date. It's probably good. They're probably busy. They're probably
yeah,
busy.
I wouldn't want to be on social media right now either. I just want to be bloody working on the game at this point.
Yeah,
Get
well,
it done.
quite.
Get her done.
It's ironic, Jay, because they were so radio silent for what? Well, arguably 7, 8
Like,
years
I mean,
since
yeah, I think it
2012,
was like
2013.
so. 2012 was the initial thing. 2013, I think, was the actual like teaser, and then I
And
think
then,
2016 was like a very even smaller teaser. It was basically like an extended version of the first one, and then like 2018, 2019 is when things started to like really come around.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
took a while.
2018 was when they did the beep tweet on their Twitter account, and that
Yeah,
was
something
when you
like that.
knew
Yeah.
things were starting to ramp up.
And then I think it was
Um,
more than a year after that until they actually started to be like properly into their social media stuff. So
yeah,
they've had a
yeah,
pretty good run.
yeah. Well, something to look forward to next year, Jay. Something I'm super excited about. I think we've talked about it before. The Mass Effect trilogy finally got announced after months of speculation and rumors. They had a N7 day, a little reunion thing with the cast and stuff, and we finally saw a trailer coming 2021, I believe. I hope it's Q1 or Q2. Jay, are you getting this? Are you excited?
It's a big maybe, I think.
Have you played all
I
three?
tell you what. So I've played one and two. I've completed one and two. Three,
Good
I
man.
don't think I ever bought. I can't remember.
Okay.
I might have only got like maybe a quarter of the way through it. I really can't remember. But I remember watching the end. I think I watched the end of the game online at some point, so I just got fed up. I don't actually remember much of what happened. I remember there being the things like it was like a London-looking town, and it had like all the aliens come down or something. I'm not sure. I can't. That's
Yeah,
foggy in my
sure,
mind.
sure, 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 sure.
So yeah, I wouldn't mind actually starting from the beginning again and just remembering everything because it was
Me
fun.
too, mate.
But like I've tried playing Mass Effect One like in the last 2 years, and it is rough. Like it's barely above 480p, barely. It's like
Yeah,
544 or something ridiculous. It's so tiny. It's disgusting.
100% right, which is why hopefully this will be more, and I think it is more than just a remaster. I think there is going to be some upgrades there.
I don't know. Are they literally just like making the game look better, but it's still got the same audio and everything?
In short, we're not sure yet, but
I
because it was
can't imagine
originally
they'd bring
planned.
back people and redo lines. I don't.
No, no, I don't think they do that, but I
Good.
think they have definitely, for instance, reworked the gunning or the shooting in the first game. I think that it was scheduled for later this year and they've delayed it, and they wouldn't do that unless they were
See,
doing some serious work to it.
is it comparable to Demon Souls then? Is it like that level of?
Not that level.
Yeah, I was
Not
gonna
that
say. I feel
level.
like there should be like a
A
grading
little
system on
scale,
like a
like,
reboot grading system or scale of how like a
yeah.
Demon Souls is at the top, and then what would be at the bottom? What's like a really bad reboot or something?
Oh, like a remaster. Yeah.
What's been like the worst remaster of late?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, I don't
Could you
even
say
know.
like
I guess Halo is like right below Demon Souls maybe, or like
Red
maybe in the middle.
Faction Guerrilla
Yeah, probably
Remastered?
one of those type things. Yeah, exactly.
Something
So,
like that.
and then Halo is
Um,
like in the middle, right? It's sort of like the
oh, I mean,
Master Chief
I consider
Collection.
Halo up there, Halo 2 Anniversary up there,
Yeah,
but
Halo 2 is
like
like
Ratchet
the
and Clank
best
2016's up there because that's a
sure,
reimagining.
pretty much. Yeah.
But I completely get your point, mate. Like a Deadpool remaster or the Vanquish and Bayonetta bundle HD remaster, maybe you could put that at the bottom or something. Not that it's bad quality, but it's just a
No, just
remaster, isn't it?
like comparable of the level of effort to make it a better game but the same game, if that makes sense. Yeah, same game,
Exactly.
just better. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. The cover or the post. I hope it's the cover, but the poster looks great.
Yeah.
And
I think Mass
um,
Effect 2 was my favorite one actually out of all of them. I
mm,
really enjoyed it. The story was amazing. I loved it.
the first one has a special place in my heart, being very closely associated with the 360, of course. But dude, I'm stoked to play these. I've told you before, I played them all so far apart. It's not really a coherent experience. So now I finally get to play all three in one.
I was gonna say, yeah, you could probably knock out all three in like 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how fast you played it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps that you know the story and everything. Mate, the achievement list is going to be a oh, daddy, yeah, that's going to be one to keep an eye out for. But I think, yeah, probably maybe a month, 2 months, long term, finishing them all in
Yeah,
full.
Nick Speed versus J Speed, sure.
Oh, there we go, there we go. And on this announcement, Casey Hudson did also tell us, in short, they're working on another Mass Effect project
Yeah, I
slash
saw
game.
that. I was like, oh wow, because that's BioWare, right? That's Mass Effect.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
they're working on Dragon Age 4. Well, the other team is working on Dragon Age 4 at the minute, aren't they?
yeah. I'm not sure how they're splitting it, dude. So they've got Dragon Age 4, which I assume is the priority. Then they've got Anthem 2.0,
Holy
and
crap!
now they've got Mass Effect as
They
well.
they they must have either like three separate teams that are like completely separate, or they've got like one big team that have just been split into different things to work on different things at
Mm,
different times. I'm not sure. I'd hate to be the kind of developer who goes back and forth between 2 or 3 games and trying to figure out what to do. It'd be insane. Like, do you feel like your faith in BioWare has diminished over the last 5 to 6 years, maybe? Because
yeah.
Andromeda, I played Andromeda and I hated. Like, it wasn't great. It's really bad.
Funny you say that. I spoke to a mate last night who liked the first three games, or the last two,
Mm.
and he didn't like Andromeda, and like that
It was so.
surprised me.
It honestly felt like playing a game by a developer who had never played Mass Effect before and tried to make a Mass Effect game. That's basically what it felt like.
Okay.
It didn't feel like the same people. It literally felt like a completely new group of people who had no idea what they were doing. It was so strange. It was so rushed as well. It was insanely rushed. It's gross. Yeah, I've kind of like my faith in BioWare has diminished quite a lot over the last couple of years. So they kind of need to have like a home run, really, don't they? They need to have it like the next couple instances of their releases need to be like pretty like spot on, like nines and above, or like at least an eight. Like anything less than that, then what's the point? Or they need to regain that trust from their audiences. So
Completely
yeah, we'll
agree.
see what happens there.
I think this is the make or break period for BioWare.
Oh, 100%. Like if they screw it up again for like the what fourth or fifth time at this point, then yeah, I don't think there's much coming back from this. Like I mean, they must be almost bloody broke at this point, unless all the money that slowly drips in from previous Dragon Ages and stuff is like
Yeah.
helping. I don't know.
So curious to see how much money that actually feeds into studios. Like, I would love to know how much Bully earns Rockstar every year. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh
because
wow. Yeah.
I'm sure it's 20, 30K at
Yeah,
least.
that's obviously not a lot, but that's still like something,
Paying
I
someone's
guess.
wage, doesn't it?
Like
Maybe more than
someone's for
that.
a year, yeah, I guess one
And
person.
they love. If I was a developer, I'd do the same. They love supporting their games wherever they can. So Xbox One backwards compatibility. Okay, we're going to make every game on 360 backwards compatible. PSN bundles and PS3 bundles are available on PS4. Oh, we're going to make that available. We're going to make PS2 classics available to buy on PS4. They love all that stuff. They love all that stuff. So
I do.
it's
I'm
got
kind
to
of
earn them money.
impressed by the level of backwards compatibility on the Xbox versus the PS5.
Oh, dude, it's
Like I've been watching
huge.
so many videos of people being like, "Look at all these games I can play on Xbox, but not look at all these games I can't play. Like I just can't play any of these games. I have to go on my PS4 or my PS3 to go do it." It's like, well, like it's so insane with the amount of like you can literally play almost anything on Xbox at this point. It's
I,
insane.
I wonder I wonder how much the Xbox being more powerful, and two, the
It's,
design and look of the PS5 console is going to impact PS5 sales, because it does
well,
seem like off the first few days, day number two, as it were, or number three for us at the moment for the Xbox, it seems like they're at an even playing field at the moment.
from what I've seen, we know that PS5 has more pre-orders than PS4 had pre-orders initially, so we know it's going to sell at least in the first couple of days more, but we don't know over the longevity because obviously the PS4 won that race previously with was it 120 million I think consoles sold.
Nearly that, I
PS4 I
think.
think it's like coming up to that or something versus the Xbox where I don't think it even broke 100 million. So
Oh, dude, I don't even think it broke 50, to be
yeah,
honest.
there you go. So we'll see if there's going to be a shift because there's been a bit of talking about Japanese developers are losing faith in Sony, aren't they? Because of all the censorship. Because all their games are being censored on Sony, but not on Xbox. So Xbox is sort of like crawling into Japan at the minute, trying to think, oh, can we grab some of them developers off of Sony because they're losing faith in them.
Didn't Phil Spencer deny
He
that
did kind of deny
rumor?
it, but he kind of has to, right? Deny it. What is it? Deniable plausibility or whatever it is.
Sure.
He kind of has to say that because he probably knows that that's what they're doing, and if he says that, it means they're basically admitting to stealing, not in quotes, being unfaithful or unhonourable to Sony or whatever. So you wouldn't say it out loud, would you? You just do it.
Well, he did say to GameSpot that he's played Elden Ring from
Yeah,
software
I
quite a
saw that.
bit.
That was the fact that there's a playable thing. I mean, obviously there's a playable thing out there, but I don't know if it's in pre-alpha, alpha, pre-beta, beta. Like, what's it in right now?
I think it's
How
still very
close?
alpha, and he's called it
Probably alpha. Yeah, okay,
Miyazaki's most
alpha.
ambitious game. I don't like that term, Jay, because I feel like you could say that about every artistic project.
I feel like that's a lot more plausible nowadays, right? Because at this point, we're at a stage in gaming, a gaming generation where if a game isn't ambitious, like, what's the point nowadays?
Sure.
Like, you kind of need that next level of gaming size and quality. Like, if a game isn't being ambitious, then what are you doing? Are you just
Well,
making another game? Like,
sure.
obviously, there's a
Sure.
point of like small developers who don't need to necessarily be ambitious to make their point, but a AAA game nowadays kind of needs that next. It's almost like being addicted to like nicotine or something. Like people have that level of, where they're maintained their high, so they've got to keep getting more and more so they can at least maintain their normality of life. It's like a weird comparison to make, but it kind of feels like that. I feel like a lot of gamers are sort of like numb to really good games nowadays. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like you're being like sort of numbed by the amount of good quality games there are, so that anything that's either the same quality or less quality now doesn't feel quite good enough?
I get your point. I think I would
Yeah,
call it more. I think I would describe it more as my expectations just become generally higher rather than
yeah,
numb. So
okay,
that when you play, I guess a 5 or 6 out of 10 game, like suddenly you're like, oh, this isn't very good. But that's because you've been playing 8 and 9s and 10s for the last two
okay,
years.
yeah, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've necessarily felt numb. Well, my expectations are now greater. I just feel like it depends. For me, it's more about what the game is, not how it is. If that makes sense. Like the mechanics and how it plays doesn't necessarily need to be good. I mean, I feel like that's more of like a given nowadays, right? Like they kind of just have to be at a certain level. Like there's an expectation. But for me, it's more about the IP than anything else. Like if the IP can be really bad, but if the game plays well enough, it's still like good enough in terms of like for the gaming industry. But if the IP is really good and the game's not very good, it kind of like slightly balances back out. I guess the good comparison with that is like Avengers, right? Really good IP, but really bad game. But it still scored like fairly well. Like it would have been a lot better if obviously if the quality of the game was better. But there's almost like this like weird balancing act there between IP level and quality of game level. There's like different things at play there, so different variables. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Exciting news, Jay, about this PS5 letting you automatically turn subtitles on for every game. That
Yeah,
shit should have
that's
been done
weird.
2 generations
I was
ago,
gonna
mate.
say, yeah, I saw that and thought, why isn't Xbox doing that? I guess that's partly because it depends on how you do it, right? Would it be like because I feel like it doesn't take that much effort for you to be like subtitles on or off to go into the options. Like that's not that much of an
True.
effort. I don't really understand how PS5 are gonna do it. Is it like from like the main menu or something?
It's from their menu, and apparently you can do it with difficulty as well. I think it's just a lifestyle ease, isn't it? You know, the same as you can turn vibration on and off on the Xbox One for every game or your controller. So I think it's similar thing. And
Yeah, I
eventually, we
wonder.
might see all settings in the console
That's
itself
true.
rather than the
Yeah,
game.
like a preset almost, like a
Hmm.
saved preset. I think that's probably
Well,
pretty much
that's
what
what
it
that
is.
is. Yeah,
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 that's pretty much
yeah.
what it is. I'm just trying to think, like, how much time does that realistically save you? Because most games, as soon as you press new game, automatically takes you to, do you want subtitles on? What difficulty you want? It doesn't necessarily put you straight into the game and then makes you change it. So I don't really see how much that can help. I mean, it'll probably save you what, like 20 seconds, 30 seconds at most, which I don't know how much, quality of life, how much that can help, really. I don't know. I don't really know who it's for, but it seems kind of cool. I'm sure in practice it probably feels a lot better to do than to actually say it out loud, I imagine.
Sure, sure. Lastly, Jay, Take-Two have acquired Codemasters, one of the biggest
Yeah, so this is
UK developers.
the Dirt 5 stuff, right? So
People,
Codemasters,
developers.
yeah, Codemasters are sort of like known for being really good at making driving games.
Sure.
Or racing games, should I say. But it looks like they're being taken over or bought, acquired by Take-Two. And Take-Two are the ones who did what? Remind me what they did.
They own Rockstar,
Right,
Jay.
that's what I
They
thought.
own
Yeah. So
2K. They own. Hmm?
what do we reckon this means for Codemasters? Does it mean better quality games in the future? Do we reckon, or does it mean same
Unfortunately,
level, just with a new boss essentially?
so I think it could mean better games because obviously, if they're in house, they can share knowledge between the other developers like Rockstar.
Hmm.
However, I unfortunately for you, Jay, think that they will probably contribute to whatever licenses they have in house. Now, I could be wrong about that. Maybe they're thinking about making a Dirt 6. What I would say is that Dirt 6 would probably be perhaps better than Dirt 5 because of the resources at their disposal now and because of the other developers that they've got in there to help with that. It's a bit like, was it Take Two that recently bought Ruffian Games, the Crackdown 2 developer? Was that
That
Take
is
Two?
that is a really good question. A good question. Hang on, let me just check that. Take
Because
Two
if that's true,
buys.
they're going on a
What's
bit
that?
of a
You
spree
say
here.
Ruffians? Rockstar buys Crackdown 2 developer Ruffian Games. Yeah,
Rocks, yeah. So that is technically Take Two. So
technically.
it
So
looks like
they're just buying up as they're becoming a monopoly. Like a lot of these companies are starting to buy up other people.
they seem to, Jay. I mean, look, if you take that, if you take Xbox's acquisitions
Yeah,
and you take
Bethesda.
PlayStation's
Yeah.
acquisitions, you can slowly see the powerhouses that they're
Oh, that's another
becoming.
thing. Didn't we talk about who did Demon Souls? That was
Blue Point.
Blue Point. Blue Point haven't been bought by Sony yet, have they?
No,
Like it would be a good idea if they did.
they're definitely looking into
They
that.
they must be. I reckon they're in talks and they just haven't said anything
They
yet.
must
Like
be.
imagine having Demon Souls with someone like Bluepoint and being like, right, you're gonna make all these reboots for us, and we're
Hmm.
we're both gonna make a lot of money. Like
Well, that's basically what they've been doing. The last game was
it
Shadow of the
would
Colossus, and the one before that was the Uncharted
it would
trilogy.
kind of like be like almost a similar thing to them buying Insomniac. Like that made so much sense with the
Exactly.
Insomniac acquisition. Like that, like to me, that was just like the perfect partnership. Same thing with like Bethesda and Microsoft. Like that seemed like the perfect partnership. So yeah, that would just be amazing if they did that.
Hundred
But it does
percent.
kind of seem like all of a sudden that like it's a little bit like how how like companies like Pringles and Doritos and like all this kind of like sweet food and like junk food, they're all owned by like 10 different companies. Like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, they're all owned by like the same people. But that's kind of what this kind of it seems like. It seems like there's these like conglomerates or these like 10 different groups of developer owner companies who are just like buying up all the small people to help them out, but to also control everything, which kind of worries me a little bit. Because does that mean in the future that there's going to be some sort of like mandate on what can and can't be put into all these different games? Like it all kind of comes down to like the company's politics about like censorship and stuff like that. Because that kind of seems like what Sony's doing in a minute with all the censorship stuff, whereas Microsoft tend not to do that as much. Like you're going to kind of see almost like this like weird sort of like faction thing happen where you've got these 10 different factions of game company owners, and they're like, right, which one of these factions censors, which one of these don't. It's kind of going to be able to pick and choose kind of thing. Obviously, that's like way into the future. I'm thinking like 100 years from now, but even so, like I can see that far. It'd be interesting to be alive at that point and sort of like watch it all unfold in front of our eyes. It'd be quite interesting to see.
I think that's a good concern to have, a righteous concern to have.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
kind of just
think
one of those ones where you don't really know what the outcome will be, whether it'll be good or bad. So
naturally
just
markets
keep an eye
will
on it.
tend towards monopolies because that is the nature of things that
Yeah,
eventually all
just the
the
nature of
companies want
capitalism, I
control.
suppose. The bigger guy tends to eat the smaller guy up, don't they?
Yeah.
Food chain and whatnot.
But that doesn't happen without voluntary
Yeah, obviously they have to
business
allow
deals
them
from
to
the
buy
small
them
guys.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah,
if you're independent and you don't feel like you need to be owned by one of them, then you can easily say no and hope for the
exactly.
best. I think more than anything, it's the money. Like Codemasters sort because they bought them for 994 million, just almost a billion, right? If they like, we just basically got a billion. Like, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, big deal, dude. That's a massive deal.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't think Codemasters were worth that much, but obviously they are. So
I mean, I don't play racing games, so I really can
yeah,
comment.
Codemasters have done a lot actually. So I actually
Yeah,
really like Codemasters. I like their style of racing game. So
they're a big UK developer, probably the biggest UK developer.
one of the biggest, yeah,
Could be.
definitely.
Yeah. Jay, tell me about these overheating vape things
Yeah,
going
so
on
right,
in
so
new
PS5,
consoles.
there was a thing a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a week ago or so, with the PlayStation 5 overheating just because they were being put. So when you go to like a game or like an Asda or a Tesco, they sort of have those like cabinets where they've got like a console inside of like a plastic dome,
Yeah.
and there's no like air holes. That's basically what happened. Like the PS5s were being put inside these really tight plastic airtight
What,
domes
in shops?
in shops, and they were basically just overheating inside these like plastic containers because there was no airflow. That's pretty
Oh
much
my
it.
god.
That's pretty much it.
Dude, I can't remember the last time I went in a shop like game and
Yeah, it's
went,
been a
and
while.
played on one of
Actually,
those consoles and
I
being
can
like,
tell
oh
you
my
the last time
god.
that happened to me, the 3DS when it first came out, I remember them having like a one you could test in game and me being like, oh okay, this is actually like I wouldn't mind getting one of these things. And like 2 years
Sure,
later, I got one. So that
sure.
was the last time that happened to me.
Right.
The other thing with PS5 is that there seems to be a lot of crashes, like
Genuinely.
yeah, like a lot of people who are installing games and then the actual console itself crashes midway through.
Genuinely.
Yeah, it's happened. I've seen like a few people on Twitter. Whether it's like a multi thing, it seems to be like a very isolated incident. Like maybe
Okay.
like one in every maybe like 100,000 cases or something. Very 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 isolated.
It's it's still not a great sign.
No, and then the other thing, so I say two issues or two things with Xbox. So the first one was sort of like a hoax, I guess you could call it. So
Yes, the vape
people,
stuff.
yeah, so
Yeah.
people were like vaping, putting their vape smoke in the back of the console, waiting a few seconds and starting to record all this vape smoke or vapor come out of the top of their console and being like, "Look, it's on fire," and like pretending that they were like not working. And then someone who like was from Xbox was like, "Yeah, there's nothing inside this thing that can actually catch on fire, so this is fake." And then someone later on was like, "Yeah, I just did that to pretend to make it seem like it." Basically, if you went to any of the profiles of these people who were doing the vaping thing, it was essentially people who were like PlayStation elitists, essentially, who were trying to make Xbox look bad.
Okay.
So it's almost like some sort of like weird sort of like
Well, Jay,
civil
how did they get hold of
warfare.
an Xbox if they're a PlayStation
Yeah,
hardcore?
that's the thing. I think they'd like got one and then just for the like maybe for free somewhere and maybe like for the sole purpose of making them look bad.
Good job I haven't got one then, hey boss.
Yeah, exactly. Again, that's just more
Oh
shittiness to
my
what you do, isn't it? So,
days. Oh dear. Right. Okay.
and
Well,
then
I appreciate you debunking them anyway.
the only other thing was that there's a few instances where disk drives are not working on Xboxes, which is just like one of those console things that tends to happen.
Jay, I cannot tell you. Well, to be fair, I won't be using it, so I'm
I
not
mean, it's
gonna.
both. It's happened to both of us. It happened to me like multiple times.
Yeah, but like, if I tried to play a disc on day one and it didn't work, I would cry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is why I don't do discs anymore because I know that can happen.
Yeah.
I think a few people weirdly actually fixed the issue by making their console into a home console.
Okay.
It almost seems like Xbox have put a sort of like a thing inside their disk drives that basically don't allow you to play a physical disc unless you set your console as a home console. Almost as like some sort of like security system against people who had like maybe who have stolen a console or who have tried to use other discs from people that they didn't buy it from necessarily. Like a friend gave you a disc to play the game, but because it's not your home console, it recognizes the disc as like a foreign object, so it spits it back out almost, which is kind of good, I guess. But it's weird that it seems to be like 50-50 with like a security system thing, and then people who are actually having their disk drives that just don't work.
Mm.
Which I hate that's still a thing. I really hate that the fact that they obviously test them when they're in the factory, but it kind of seems there's been maybe a little bit less testing just because they've been trying to get them out quicker. It's kind of what it seems like. Which hopefully mine doesn't do that, and I'll let you know. I'm tempted to actually like put in like a disc of a game that I haven't done in a while just to see if it works.
Yeah, sure,
But I don't
sure.
know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think I'll do it day one just because I'm not going to ever use a disc. I don't think. But
Fair play.
we'll see.
And Genshin 1.1 update, Jay.
Yeah, that was yesterday. New characters, new story missions. I haven't done any of the story stuff because I really can't be arsed at the minute. I'm just sort of like grinding still. I'm actually a little bit worried because I'm not going to be able to play Genshin every day now. Starting
Oh
tomorrow,
no!
I mean, tomorrow morning I'm going to play it, but starting from the 14th, I'm not going to be playing Genshin anymore, I don't think. I might have to
Sure.
genuinely get up half an hour earlier just so I can do my Genshin dailies and then start AC. No,
I love
seriously.
I love your regiment, dude. I love your
No,
regiment.
honestly, my schedule for Odyssey is going to be the same schedule as what I've got for AC, Valhalla, and Cyberpunk. I'm going to get
Sure.
up at 7:30, do my half an hour of dailies for Genshin. 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. is going to be playing. 10 a.m. shower. 10:15 to 12 p.m. is gaming. 15-minute lunch. 12:15 to 4 to 4:15 is going to be playing. 4:15 to like 6 is going to be tea and shower, and then 6 till about 2 in the morning is going to be gaming.
Oh my god.
So I'm going to roughly get between 10 and 12 hours of gaming a day
Okay.
for 14 days straight, roughly. That's my goal. Is preferably 10 days. I might be able to get it done in 10. But if I'm at my speed, I'll probably get it done at 10. But if I tend to go a little bit slower, it'll probably be a few extra days,
We should
depending.
say, Jay, we spoke about Valhalla last night
We
on
did, yeah. We were sort of
PlayStation.
discussing like length of game, bugginess, I guess, like if there's any missable achievements, stuff like
Reaction.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, in short, I was gobsmacked when you told me the average length of the game for completion. Reported
Well, I
by other
think it's like
gamers.
it's not like completion of just like the main story, like the casual
No, no, no.
casual
We're
gamer will
talking
casual
100%,
gamer
right?
will probably play it in like maybe between 30 and 40 hours of probably main story, or maybe even 20 to 30. But I reckon for us, it's looking like for 100%, it's looking like upwards of 100 hours. So, which is what we put into the whole entirety of Odyssey and the DLC, 100% for that. So
Correct.
I put in
Correct.
110, you put in like 120 or so. So
Yeah, I believe so.
yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna
That's
be
worrying.
it's gonna be a marathon, not a sprint. So I'm getting prepared. I
Yeah,
got to wake up early tomorrow actually because my console is potentially coming early in the morning, so I have to get up early anyway. It'll be the
throwing
earliest I've
time,
woken up
dude.
in close to 9 months.
What delivery courier did the game use?
Royal Mail, yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. And last thing, Jay, Godfall is a timed exclusive, apparently.
Yeah, so I was actually kind of like, I didn't think this was going to happen, but it looks like it has. So I'm glad about that because obviously I wouldn't be able to play it if it was just on PS5. Because it was supposed to be a PS5 exclusive from the get-go, which is what we were told like months ago. But now we know that it's not. It's actually going to be a 6-month timed PS5 exclusive, which I'm very happy about because I'll actually be
Jay,
able to play it.
I did mention the idea that these exclusives they don't mean anything if they're second party anymore. I
No, I
gave a
guess
lot of
not.
examples for that, but what I mean is that if someone tells you that it's an exclusive and it's by a studio who aren't owned by Xbox or PlayStation, I wouldn't count on it basically. But anyway, this is good because you get to play it on Xbox.
Finally, I'm just going to be obviously behind, technically in quotes. I won't be able to like experience it for the first time when it first comes out, but I'll at least have a lot more to play with once. It'll almost like be coming to a game with like a bunch of DLC. That's kind of probably what it's going to feel like, which is sometimes a bit annoying, but I don't mind it. I don't think in this case. I mean, it does look good, so I might even play it with you if you are up for it. But I think you said you weren't really up for it, were you?
Not at the moment, but things can change.
I said
Things
you
can
said you
change.
might be up for Outriders though, right?
Oh, I would rather play Outriders than Godfall.
Yeah, that's more your cup of tea.
Yeah,
Kind of like a
yeah.
Destiny stroke Division kind of styley.
Well, I'm not sure because Godfall looked like that, but they said it wasn't that, so
No,
I'm very
it's a
confused what it
melee
is.
looter. That's what it is. It's rather than a shooter looter, it's a melee looter or a slash looter. I don't know what they're
But it
calling it.
doesn't have that repetitive element like Destiny and
Yeah,
Division.
to an extent,
Oh,
it's supposed to. It's supposed to be literally like a looter shooter, but with melee instead of guns.
okay,
That's the whole idea, I guess.
okay, all right.
It looks good.
I'll confide in you, Jay, that I'm actually going back to 360.
Yeah, I could tell. I saw you started up in the background. You put
Yeah,
Oblivion in, right?
yeah. I never. So Fallout 3 and 4, I sort of finished in terms of I done all the side quests I found, and I've done most of the locations on the map, and all the DLCs and everything. And I've never done that for Elder Scrolls 4 or 5. So I thought I'd just take the opportunity to do that.
Makes
And I've
sense.
got a
Yeah.
couple of other games that I wanted to do and some projects to do with them as well. One game, Jay. So I'll be fairly quick about this.
No, you're alright. Take your time.
I figured out how to play Undead Nightmare. So you just play it offline because the title update has the glitch in it. So if you just play it offline, you can earn all the achievements, and then when you log back in, it's all good. So at some point, when I have like a whole day or a whole 2 days, I will blitz through that because I still haven't done that.
Yeah, I
And
can't
I would
imagine it
go,
would take too long. It being obviously quite a small, well, it's basically like a large DLC, really.
yeah, yeah. So I hope it doesn't take too long. But I am excited to play it, and I got Jay probably the only game left on 360 that I haven't played that I've really wanted to play. It's called The Saboteur.
Oh, you legend! I fucking love that game. I really do. Honestly, you're gonna enjoy it like hell. It's so fun.
Thanks, man.
It's
Did
really.
you
I'm
you played
kind of
it?
jealous. I'm pretty sure I still have it. I'll double check. But it is. I remember playing it. I think me and Gurney played it at the same time, or like roughly the same time, and it was like I don't know. It's weird. I've got a very fuzzy memory of it, but all I remember is that it was just like I remember finishing it and being like, "Oh, that was nice." It's almost like having a stretch, and you're like, "Oh, that just was really good." That's kind of what the whole game felt like. Really
Right.
satisfying. I remember the racing in it was really satisfying too. There's like a
Right. Okay.
racing element in there, a little bit like Crackdown. There's like racing things in there.
Sure. 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 Sure.
I'm trying to remember exactly how. I mean, it's weird because the game, I reckon, if I went back to play it, would probably be a lot smaller than it is in my head.
Sure.
Like games have obviously evolved over time where we've sort of gotten used to games getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but now big maps feel small because we're just so used to them. So I reckon the map probably feels a lot smaller in that game than I remember. But yeah, man, like I reckon you'd actually probably be able to get a good amount of gamer score on that as well.
Well, I took a look at the achievements, and there is a few missable ones, but
Yeah,
it looks achievable.
yeah. I
So
was gonna say I think I remember them being fairly easy.
yeah,
Yeah,
it looked like
I really. Did you buy that then, or did you already have it?
yeah. I bought it for like £4 on Amazon used.
Jeez.
It's
I
quite
honestly
good
want you to
condition
tell me
actually.
like how like once you've done with it, I want you to tell me on the podcast like how you feel about it.
I
I
understood.
remember it just being like it's like one of those games of like my 360 era of games. It's like, yep, that one is one of the best ones I played. So
Well, it's
I
definitely on every top underrated
can't,
games of
I
that
really can't
generation.
imagine coming back to it now though. I feel that'd be such a weird experience.
I can tell you from the back cover, it
I
doesn't
think
look
I
that
think
good.
I played it at roughly the same time I played Mafia 2, and it was very similar to that. That's probably why I enjoyed it so much because Mafia 2 is like one of my favorite Mafia games. So
Mafia 2 is incredible. Dude, that game at the time looked so good.
it did, yeah. Mafia 2, Saboteur, and LA Noire, I think were all roughly the same time for me.
Oh, wow. Dude, that's a
They're
hell of a
all
trilogy. That's a hell of
exactly.
a
They're all
trilogy.
kind of like that same. Like there's almost like a timeline. Like
Aesthetic.
the Saboteur was kind of like 30s, 40s, World War II kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
you've got the after effects of that for LA Noire, and then you've got the after effects of that with Mafia 2. It's all like roughly the same time frame. So it was all that
Wow.
kind of like American Dream kind of stuff. It was like really like it's like my like I love that kind of like Mad Men style look. You know, I just love how that IP plays out. It's just fun to do, like the whole gangster thing and Nazis and oh, I love it. I love that stuff. I kind of miss it honestly to an extent. I actually thought about it a little while ago, and it kind of made me want to play Wolfenstein 2, but I'm still not enough to play it. Like in my head, I'm not enough there to play it yet. So I'm like preparing myself for AC Valhalla still, so I'm not in the right mind frame for Wolfenstein, but I'll get there, I'm sure, at some point.
Just gear yourself up, son of Odin.